Hello and welcome to this, the very first ever episode of Midlife Crisis. So this is my first YouTube channel and this is my very first ever YouTube vid. Now, I'm a middle-aged guy and due to recent events in the world, I actually found myself with a lot of time on my hand. So, when I was much younger, I used to play a lot of Warhammer 40k, right back in the very first edition, Rogue Trader. Since then, after family and everything happening, I took a step out of the hobby, recently got back into it again, and yeah, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 6 months in the Warhammer hobby, brand new edition, 9th edition, has just been released by Games Workshop, and as part of that, they released this phenomenal box set for Indomitus. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm not going to go through an unboxing because there's tons of that online, but what I thought I'd do is share my journey through painting the contents of this box set. Over the next few weeks I'm going to work my way through all the different models, show you how I paint. I've never been that good a painter, and I'm certainly not going to win a Golden Demon Award anytime soon. But I just like to get my miniatures up to a nice standard that I'm happy with and that I enjoy gaming with. Hopefully you're going to see my painting improving as the weeks go along. Taking a look inside the box, there are a phenomenal amount of miniatures which have been squeezed inside the Indomitus box, and what I'm going to do is just start with the Necron Warriors sprue. So thinking to myself, you know, let's start simple, let's start with a nice little unit. First impressions of this is I'm absolutely amazed at the amount of detail on this. So back in the early days, most of the miniatures that I had were the old metal lead miniatures that Games Workshop produced. Used to come in little blister packs, weighed an absolute ton. The plastic miniatures that I was used to 20 years ago had not a lot of detail in, but you can see on these there's some superb detailing on these miniatures, so really impressed with the plastic moulding that Games Workshop are doing these days. I think this is going to be really good fun to paint, and I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in. What I thought I'd do is paint these in the Nilek dynasty. I quite like the Egyptian themes, the blues and the golds that these cover. So I'm going to do that using Citadel Paints. Rather than me listing them all out here, I'll leave them in the details below if you're interested for exactly which paints I've used. But first thing I'll do is give the whole sprue an undercoat, and for that I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use Citadel's Leadbelcher spray, and that should get me going with the majority of the metalwork then done from the offset. With undercoating complete, time to start cutting the miniatures out of the sprue. Now, I've made mistakes in the past where I've just cut everything out in one go and ended up with a lot of parts, so what I'm going to do is refer back to this very, very detailed guide that Games Workshop have produced to put these miniatures together. So all my tools laid out, but most importantly my trusty little Bluetooth speaker, which I enjoy listening to music on while I'm modelling. So, let's stick on some tunes and start snipping some sprues. So here's the miniature. Just pushing it together, and surprisingly it actually fits together very, very well. I think Games Workshop have done a superb job with these miniatures, as I've said before. So nice and easy to put it together. Joints are all pretty good, so I'm quite happy to sort of paint this. With all 10 Necron Warriors now assembled, you can see that I've left them in 3 separate parts: the gun casing, the main, the body and head, and then the torso. The reason why I do this is that getting into some of the fine detail, it's a bit easier if they're separate. So starting off with these miniatures, first thing I did was give a base coat of Corvus Black, Citadel's Corvus Black. Do like to use a palette. I've found this gives me a lot more control over my paint. and also allows me just to fin it so that I can make sure I get a really nice smooth coating of it. Love Corvus Black because it gives quite a nice sort of chalky effect. It's not as deep black as some of the other blacks, which I find really good on gun casing. So yeah, also picking out all the pipe working on the gun. I'll do some highlighting on this later on. Going on to the torso, painting all the pipe work that you can see there, and also any detailing in the head where there may be some damage, and finally picking out any bits of loose wire on the main body. I mixed up a little bit of Retribution Armor, and that was to paint the gold detailing, and initially it was just to paint the full face of each miniature. Get a nice smooth even coat on that, and also on the torso to paint the little cartouche, yeah, I don't know what you call that, the little dynastic badge. So that done, next colour to go on to was the blue, and I used Thousand Suns blue. It's actually quite a translucent paint, so can pretty well use that straight from the pot. And I painted up the shoulder pads using this. Absolutely love this turquoise blue with Thousand Suns blue. It's just such a vibrant colour because it's quite translucent. I find that the Leadbelcher on the main miniature shines through. The other bit that I did as well was to keep in touch with the Nilek dynasty. I drew a blue line on the helmet. I started off putting on a very, very thin line up the skull mask, starting from the nose. What I actually found with these miniatures as I went on, it looked better with a much wider stripe in my opinion. So what I did was I just fleshed that stripe out until I felt that it was wide enough to be noticeable on the miniature without being completely overbearing. And using just the very edge of my brush, I then picked out the raised detailing on that cartouche in the blue, almost like edge highlighting. Quite early on in this process, it's time to move on to the washes, and what I like to do is wash all the gunmetal detail, all the Leadbelcher, with a mix of Nuln Oil and Lahmian Medium, which is the Citadel Medium for their inks. And I just gave this a really, really liberal wash, so just making sure that it was getting into all the detail as well as all the rest. Also did the silver bits on the body and also on the gun. Gauze Flare. I'm going to get that name right one day. Okay, with that now done, I put in a wash for the main body with just a dab of medium just to water it down very slightly, and that was with Agrax Earthshade, and that wash was to go over the blue on the shoulder pads. The gold across the body, and also gold and blue on the face mask. Now with all the washes complete, I left that about an hour to dry, and time to start picking out some of the details. So I used Corax White, and I wanted to pick out all the little glowing orbs that are going to be on the Gauze Flare. It took me a while to do, I had to thin it down a little bit, and also touch up the main gun barrel. Next was to add the glowing detail on these orbs, and I did that using Citadel's new technical paint, the Tesseract Glow, and I just gave this a sort of good wash. I also picked out the details in the eyes and actually had a little look at the torso as well and put some in there. Yeah, quite happy with the way that sort of shines out. So just wanted to put a bit more definition, so I used Moot Green just to add a little bit of edge highlighting on a few of the pipes, and I did the same on the torso as well as the body, just to give that impression of it glowing. Then picked out some of the raised bits on the mechanisms of the Gauze Flare with Stormhost Silver, and also edged the blades, trying to leave them looking quite sort of dirty, but I just wanted to give light just glinting off it. And then a final edge highlighting using Mechanicus standard grey to all the raised edges on the main body of the Gauze Flare itself. And I'm quite happy with that, actually. So that's really the majority of what I think would be needed for this miniature, so let's put him together and see how he looks. And there we go, first Necron Warrior that I've ever painted in the Nuln Dynasty. So I came back to them the next day and I was taking a look at them, and as always I just thought, well, yeah, I could just do a little bit more. So I just picked out a green wash, Biel-Tan Green, and I just really wanted to make the Gauze Flare glow a bit more. So I gave it a wash of Biel-Tan Green and then just picked out the very tips of the Gauze Flare with a bit of Corax White. And there we have it. I think I will hold it there now with that miniature. I had great fun doing these. Lots of little lessons that I've learned with painting this batch of miniatures. One of the main ones was around the Gauze Flare, that it needs, I found that the effect given by the Tesseract Glow wasn't quite intense enough for my liking. So just going back and giving that additional wash was quite helpful. Apart from that, yeah, no, I'm really happy. I've got another 10 to do with the gauze cannons rather than the Gauze Flares that I put on these ones. So I'm going to have a bit of fun with that. The other thing, I've not actually based these miniatures yet, just left them on the standard black base. I'm going to base them, but I haven't yet decided on a colour scheme. And I thought maybe if you guys are interested, I can do a basing video in the future. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that premiere first ever episode. Hope you liked it. If you did, please hit the like button, leave comments below. If you want to see more content like this as it comes out over the coming weeks, please subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you all next time.